Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the unveiling and the event and the dedication of the Mike Ryan baseball field and bench. We'd like to thank the Ryan family, and along with Melinda Barrett and Maura Ryan, to bringing it to our attention that Mike Ryan loved this ball field and remembered it fondly throughout his years. And once we heard that, we spoke to the mayor. We found it more than appropriate to name a field and a bench with the help of the Ryan family to raise the necessary funds for this beautiful bench that you'll see in a little bit. For those who grew up in the 60s, I was younger in the 60s, but I remember when Mike Ryan either first made it to the pros or he was drafted. I saw a banner at Tyler Park welcoming Mike Ryan to the Boston Red Sox. I asked my dad, I was probably 7 or 8 at the time, who's Mike Ryan? He told me who it was. 66, 67, I started to follow the game more. Became an ardent Red Sox fan, and with that would follow the kid from Haverhill's career, Mike Ryan. Mike played up until I think through the 1967 season, went off to Philadelphia. Being a professional baseball player that Mike was really something truly special. As I looked into what it takes to become a major league ball player, in 156 years of Major League Baseball, 156 years of Major League Baseball, there's only been 21,000 players. It's an amazing number. And Mike Ryan was one of those. Mike Ryan was one of those. Not only did Mike play, the average career is 2.3 years, but Mike actually played 11 years. Only 10% of Major League ball players play more than 10 years. Mike Ryan was one of those. Mike Ryan went on to coach in Philadelphia, and I'd always try and find stories on him and see how he was doing as a kid in the local Gazette. Him and Ollie Silver were two people, for whatever reason, I followed. And, you'd see he'd be coaching in Philadelphia as a bullpen coach. He did that for 16 years. Coaches will coach for 16 years, but he coached for 4 different managers. Mike Ryan was known to be a defensive catcher. Not necessarily the greatest offensive catcher, but a superior defensive catcher who had a career stolen base percentage of 44%, which is considered very good. The league average when he played was 38%. There was a couple years he threw out over 50% of his runners. And it's more difficult, I think, as a part-time player to come and do that. Timing, getting to know your players. But in all these things that he did to allow him to play 10 years, coach 16 years, coach for 4 different managers over those 16 years, become a world champion in 1980, it was because of his work ethic, his ability to communicate, and his love of the game. So we are more than proud and honored to have Mike Ryan's name stand here for the duration of time for a park that he loved, and we are grateful for him coming from Haverhill and recognizing and loving the fact that he did come from Haverhill. So thank you to the Ryan family. Thank you to the mayor and city council for this day. And at this point, I want to introduce Mayor James Ferrantini. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny. Vinny Ouellette does an incredible job for the city of Haverhill, and I want to thank him for that. There's 2 other elected officials who took the time to come today on this really hot day, and I want to introduce them. City Councilor Sean Toohey, where's Sean? Oh, there he is. And Joe Bevilacqua, thank you very much. Let me welcome you to something that is long overdue in the city of Haverhill, Mike Ryan Day in the city of Haverhill. And as mayor, I officially declare today as Mike Ryan Day in the city of Haverhill. Former Mayor Bill Ryan, welcome, Bill. I didn't know Mike. I lived for a while on Observatory Ave. I grew up in Riverside, but I didn't know Mike, but I knew his family. But I remember being a kid. I'm a lot younger than Vinny, but I remember being a kid. I think I was in high school, watching the Red Sox, and my dad saying, "He's from Haverhill. He's from Haverhill," and I started watching him. What I didn't know at the time was that Mike Ryan was the very first professional ball player from Haverhill ever in the history of the city. What I learned today, and I didn't know this, I know Mike went to St. James. I assume he played ball at St. James. No, Mike Ryan was the only professional ball player who never played high school ball, ever. He played here at Sandlot ball, and he enjoyed this. I know I've heard many stories that he loved this field, that he was here all the time. This is the area where he grew up and where he learned his skills. Still one of the greatest ball players ever to come from the city of Haverhill. We're honored to have so many of the family members here today. We're honored to have all of you, and we're honored to have Mike Ryan Day in the city of Haverhill. So with that, let me give this back to Hitty. Thank you very much.